royal to die from the virus. After insidiously covering up the coronavirus outbreak in December last year, China has now been accused of dumping faulty coronavirus testing kits on a variety of countries around the world, which are now responsible for delivering misleading results during those tests. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of just how China, after creating this crisis by covering up the virus, is now gaining directly from the world pandemic.
Chinese test kits to Spain, defective. Chinese test kits to Netherlands, defective. Chinese test kits to Ukraine, defective. Chinese test kit to Czech Republic, defective. Chinese test kits to Turkey, defective. Chinese face masks to Turkey, defective. In case you hadn't noticed, the global glare on China has exponentially spiked, quite like the coronavirus that had originated in the country a few months ago. A growing list of countries that had received Chinese-made test kits for the new coronavirus have called them out as defective and useless to handle the current crisis. From Spain to Netherlands to Turkey, Ukraine, Czech Republic, and even rumblings in the Philippines, the countries have signaled that they are discarding or returning thousands of the substandard Chinese-supplied diagnostic devices. Thankfully, while India has been offered Chinese kits, it won't be needing them. But there's a good reason why few are buying China's denials at this time. The truth is, it is China's track record in the last 3 months alone that has the world unprepared to believe a single word emanating from Beijing.
I would like to begin by announcing some important developments in our war against the Chinese virus. We'll be invoking the Defense Production Act just in case we need it.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all. No, not at all. It comes from China.
Things began in December 2019, when China began its now infamous cover-up of the coronavirus outbreak. But the story has turned far more insidious since then. Consider just these simple facts. After covering up the original outbreak in December last year, China is widely seen as having worked with a compromised WHO to mislead the world on the true nature of the virus. Immediately next, China began exporting diagnostic kits and face masks. Meanwhile, it opened up its business landscape, allowing Chinese companies to begin a global scavenger hunt for dying assets. And as a final ironic flourish, China will now profit hugely by exporting badly needed ventilators to countries across the world. As Chinese businesses now seek to profit from the global pandemic that originated in China, the world seeks answers. And the only thing China is willing to supply is defective test kits and masks. Bureau Report, India Today.
And this is not our opinion. These are hard facts that are being reported in countries across the world. This is not about villainizing or demonizing China. This is a situation where very soon 1 million people on earth will have this virus, and it all began with China's initial decision to cover up the outbreak. Here are the 5 different ways in which China is profiting from the pandemic. Let me show you how they are profiting from the pandemic. Number 1. Chinese firms are exporting COVID-19 test kits on a commercial basis as we speak. Number 2, Chinese clothing units are now being used for face mask export. Number 3, Chinese firms are eyeing distressed business assets around the world. We'll correct those graphics. I apologize for that. We'll put the correct ones on screen in just a moment. India Today's Gaurav Sawant and Geeta Mohan are with me live. Gaurav, is it any exaggeration? You know, the world is angry with China right now. China says this is racial bias, etc., which is complete hogwash. But if you look at the facts on the ground, isn't it true, at the very least, Gaurav, that China is profiting from what's going on?
Oh, absolutely, Shiv. And for the world, it's a double whammy. First, the coronavirus, China's biggest sin, covering up. When they should have gone out and told the entire world, China and the World Health Organization stand accused of a massive cover-up and in a way trying to lull the world into a false sense of complacency. When even the WHO went to the extent of saying that there is no evidence of human-to-human transmission when there directly was. And Taiwan had sensitized the world according to multiple reports. And Taiwan and Vietnam were two countries that took preventive measures, and they've been able to contain the situation. But look at how Europe is suffering. Look at how America is suffering. And look at how Spain, the first country to say that 640,000 test kits that they had ordered from China, the first lot of 9,000 test kits, rapid test kits, they're supposed to have 80% accuracy. Shiv, they have less than 30% accuracy, and it's not just Spain alone. The Czech Republic, they've complained about this. Ukraine has complained. Turkey has complained. Instead of 80% accuracy, 70% accuracy, these rapid test kits are giving less than 30% accuracy. So this is where China is not only misleading the world with the pandemic, it's now selling faulty test kits. And then when caught out, they're saying that these test kits were bought off the shelf from companies that were not authorized to sell. So, there are layers and layers, and Spain is angry, Europe is angry, the United States is angry. India, fortunately, locked out, but we're still not out of the woods, Shiv. A lot still needs to be done to ensure that India is able to flatten the graph as China tries to profit from this.
Geeta, these are not some small fry countries that are at the receiving end of China's insidious ways. Countries like Spain, the Czech Republic, the United Kingdom, even one of China's allies, Turkey, they're all suffering at the hands of this defective equipment, and China clearly profiteering from this crisis. Is India insulated? Please tell me India is insulated from what China is trying to do.
Well, quite insulated, but not completely, Shiv. Today we had a press release from the Chinese embassy in New Delhi that the first medical equipments have arrived, first batch of medical equipments have arrived, being funded by Alibaba Foundation and being given to NGOs over here. We do not know whether that includes testing kits, because it certainly can't. There are registered testing units and laboratories that are involved in the Indian administration, or in India, so to say. But in terms of other medical equipment, there is a first batch that has arrived. We again will have to wait and see what that equipments are really going to help in the COVID, in battling COVID-19. Looking at the larger picture over here, Chinese government will have to be held accountable, Shiv. We've seen them arm twist the WHO into delaying even the announcement of COVID-19 as a pandemic. We've seen them arm twist Italy into continuing flight operations after the world over, including India, the countries had stopped their flight operations with China. And look at the kind of state of affairs that Italy has landed itself in. Europe is absolutely under the economic grasp of China, and one can see that in the kind of arm twisting that China has done, not just there, but also at the United Nations Security Council and at the United Nations General Assembly, where we still wait for a proper discussion on COVID-19 and accountability pinned down on the Chinese administration. No discussion yet, only proposals.
Thank you very much, Geeta and Gaurav. Those were the 5 ways. I wanted to once again put out those graphics so all of our viewers know, and you have the facts of the 5 ways in which China is actually profiting from the world crisis as we know it right now. Chinese clothing units are now being used for face masks. Chinese firms are eyeing distressed business assets globally. Chinese firms are making ventilators for export. That is the kind of blood-sucking culture China has been reduced to. First create the crisis and then profit from the world's attempts to fight that crisis. An incredible, insidious nation is now a threat to the world. And I'm not exaggerating. This has nothing to do with race. We're all a part of Asia, but this is what China has brought the world to. A 57-year-old female shrimp seller in China's Wuhan city, the epicenter, the originating point of the coronavirus pandemic, has been identified as one of the first victims of this contagious virus. Here's how it all began in a wet seafood market in Wuhan.
This is where it began. That much the world is reasonably sure of. The Huanan seafood wet market in Wuhan, ground zero of coronavirus pandemic. But who was the first human to be infected? Well, it turns out the world may finally know who patient zero is. With over 31,000 deaths and counting, and the number of cases steadily marching towards 1 million, the numbers are mind-numbing. But finally, it's down to one, and it's here in this Chinese seafood market. Reports suggest that patient zero has been identified as Wei Guixian, who is a 57-year-old seller of shrimp at the Huanan seafood market in Wuhan. As epidemiologists do a deep dive into how things exploded from patient zero, first, let's walk you through what's known of the shrimp seller's deadly timeline. After catching what she thought was a cold on December 10 last year, patient zero visited a clinic believing she had a common flu. With symptoms worsening, she visited the Wuhan Union Hospital on December 16, where she was diagnosed. However, she was only quarantined at the end of the month. Thankfully, after a month-long treatment, she recovered in January. The Wuhan woman believes she may have been infected after sharing toilets at the seafood market with meat sellers. While she is being regarded as patient zero, there is no conclusive evidence that she may have been the first to be infected. The first case was detected in the beginning of December. Wei Guixian was among the first 27 patients to test positive for COVID-19 and one of the 24 from Huanan market. Probably most significantly, patient zero has a damning comment to make on the country's rulers in Beijing. She believes if the government had acted sooner, there would have been fewer deaths. Bureau Report, India Today.
The deadly coronavirus has paralyzed the world, with major nations going under complete lockdown. India has shut nearly wholly, barring regulated essential services in the wake of the spread of COVID-19. But there is a need to discuss the origins of this crisis. We told you about patient zero, but the wet markets of Wuhan, and there are many across China. Watch this report on why China's obsession with seafood, the unregulated use of wet markets, could be the genesis of this crisis.
These visuals speak volumes about the quality of meat that is being consumed locally within China. There have been massive sparring between China and the US over the origin of the virus.
I would like to begin by announcing some important developments in our war against the Chinese virus. We'll be invoking the Defense Production Act just in case we need it. In other words, I think you all know what it is.
Some reports suggest that the infection spread either from a bat or a pangolin. But when it comes to the place of origin, there is much clarity. The Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention confirmed, after successfully isolating the novel coronavirus, that it came from wildlife animals sold in the market in downtown Hankou of Wuhan city.
通通都是人类和野生动物的不当接触造成的。
This is not food, but a health hazard. violating all standards and norms. This is not the first time that China is the epicenter of another coronavirus. SARS also spread from traders of wildlife in Guangdong, China. The Hangzhou wet market has a section that sells exotic animals and birds as well, those that are not approved by the government. But China has been rather lenient on these matters. The wet market had a section selling some 120 wildlife animals across 75 species. While the mistreatment is not a secret, the growing subculture of wildlife eating has also become a status symbol.
It's not really the eating of wildlife, it's the hunting, the capture, and killing them and cutting them up, and getting exposed to the blood and the feces and urine. That's where these viruses get across.
Videos of people eating bats, rodents, snakes, and other creatures can be found in abundance online. But China hardly enforced any of the laws, and wildlife trading continued unabated. Until COVID-19 hit the South Asian giant, crippling its entire system. On January 26th, Beijing aimed to suspend trade after a notice by the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Ministry, the State Administration for Market Regulation, and the State Forestry. But only until the epidemic is over, which might not be enough. Wildlife trade has had devastating impact on animals, not just locally found in China, but also those brought in or smuggled in from other countries. Reports indicate that before the Huanan market closed, vendors there sold processed meat and live consumable animals, including chickens, donkeys, sheep, pigs, camels, foxes, badgers, bamboo rats, and hedgehogs, as well as reptiles like snakes. Pangolins have been almost wiped out. Snakes are rarely seen in much of South China. Shockingly, according to some reports, the Chinese government recommended using Tanriquing, an injection containing bear bile, to treat severe and critical COVID-19 cases, leading to spike in killing of bears. This is just the tip of the iceberg. If China does not mend its ways, then the world would have to face the consequences. China has to make the difficult choice of changing its ways of life and prioritize public health and safety. Else, it will be a long way off from becoming a superpower.
Experts believe the outbreak of both coronavirus and SARS started in Chinese wet markets. My colleague Geeta Mohan spoke with Dr. Peter J. Lee, China policy specialist, on what exactly happens inside these infamous wet markets where COVID-19 is likely to have been born.
If you could begin by explaining to us what are these wet markets of Hankou in Wuhan that has been the epicenter of the outbreak?
The Hankou market in Wuhan is a typical marketplace where you can get almost everything from fresh vegetable to meat, pork, beef, mutton, and seafood. There is also a section where you can get wildlife animals such as snakes, civet cats, and other wildlife animals of about 75 species. But typically people don't go there. So the wildlife animals are sold to small restaurants, I believe. So that's why that's a typical, marketplace.
What are the kind of meats that we can really see people sell at the Wuhan market, which has been the epicenter, given the fact that there are a lot of reports being very critical of how China has handled wildlife, its policies with regards to meat coming from across the globe, various kinds of species being slaughtered and sold in the Hankou market. So can you just explain to us what are the kind of animals that are sold in this market?
In China, there is not a clear demarcation as to what can be sold and what cannot be sold. Theoretically, the Chinese government allowed the breeding and marketing of 54 wildlife animals captively bred, but we see a large number of animals wild caught, especially animals which are state protected species. So China's wildlife market is beyond the reach of Chinese laws. There is a complete lawlessness there. So I would say it is a line of business that the Chinese government should crack down upon.
Professor Lee, you speak of many kinds of wildlife. Now, could you just tell us exactly what the rules and regulations and laws of China has been when it comes to trading in wildlife?
China has banned wildlife consumption and wildlife trade, but I would say this is not enough, even though the decision to ban wildlife trade and consumption is the most commendable step taken by the Chinese government. And we hope that the ban will become a permanent policy when China revises its wildlife protection law.
Coverage of the coronavirus crisis continues non-stop. It's our biggest story here on India Today. Thanks for watching. For further news and updates, remember, you can always log on to indiatoday.in and also download the India Today app. Please remember to stay home and stay safe.
You are watching India Today.
Son, who's a junior doctor, is spending his hours in hospital 24/7. I have to report about coronavirus and other important events every evening. Bigger family is the viewer, the people of India who have trusted us to be a credible news source in these difficult times. If I can come to office every day to give you accurate information, that's my responsibility. Can you do something for me too? Stay at home, stay safe, that's your responsibility. Collectively, we can win this war against coronavirus.
वही वीडियो देखो जो आए बिना ब्रेक के, बिना ब्रेक वाला वीडियो बोले सबसे हार्ड।
देख बिना ब्रेक, अभी डाउनलोड करें तक ऐप।
रुक रुक के ना देख, 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 रुक रुक के।
देख बिना ब्रेक, अभी डाउनलोड करें तक ऐप।
महामारी के इस माहौल में हाथ तो सैनिटाइज कर लेंगे, लेकिन जानकारी को कैसे सैनिटाइज करेंगे? इस दौर में आप तक आने वाली हर खबर अगर सही हो तो वो जानकारी है, लेकिन अगर गलत हो तो जानलेवा हो सकती है। कोरोना वायरस पर आने वाली हर खबर होगी सबसे सटीक खबर। जब देश की लड़ाई कोरोना वायरस से हो तो देश का भरोसा सिर्फ आज तक पर हो।
जो बैक टू बैक शूटिंग कर रहे हो आप, तो बीच में ब्रेक तो बनता है, उसमें बड़ा अच्छा लगता है। लेकिन जब आप कोई ऐसा वीडियो देख रहे हो जो आपको बहुत अच्छा लगता हो, उसके बीच में ब्रेक नहीं बनता।
देख बिना ब्रेक, अभी डाउनलोड करें तक ऐप।
ब्रॉडकास्ट जर्नलिज्म सीखिए मीडिया के दिग्गजों के साथ। ज्वाइन करें इंडिया टुडे मीडिया इंस्टीट्यूट। रजिस्टर करने के लिए कॉल कीजिए 9560065465 पर।
तमाम खबरों को देखने के लिए, पढ़ने के लिए आजतक.in पर जरूर जाएं। और हां, इन तमाम खबरों के लिए अब आप आज तक के ऐप को भी डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं iOS और एंड्रॉइड दोनों पर।
डाउनलोड करें आज तक मोबाइल ऐप।
आज तक के साथ लगातार जुड़े रहने के लिए डाउनलोड कर लीजिए आज तक का मोबाइल ऐप और उसके बाद दिन भर की हर खबर से मेरे साथ रहिए खबरदार।
डाउनलोड करें आज तक मोबाइल ऐप। All new India Today mobile app. Now get quick and short news flashes. Watch 4 TV news channels live in just a swipe. Read stories without data connection. And also read exclusive India Today magazine stories and interviews. Personalize your news feed and notifications. Watch a news bulletin of your favorite journalist anytime, anywhere. Now experience more lighter and faster. India Today mobile app from India's #1 news video publisher. देख बिना ब्रेक। डाउनलोड तक ऐप।
आज तक के साथ लगातार जुड़े रहने के लिए डाउनलोड कीजिए आज तक का मोबाइल ऐप और लगातार मोबाइल पर भी जुड़े रहिए आज तक के साथ।
डाउनलोड करें आज तक मोबाइल ऐप।
आज तक के साथ लगातार जुड़े रहने के लिए डाउनलोड कर लीजिए आज तक का मोबाइल ऐप और मोबाइल पर ही दंगल का मजा लीजिए।
डाउनलोड करें आज तक मोबाइल ऐप। ENBA अवार्ड 2019 में इंडिया टुडे ग्रुप की रिकॉर्ड तोड़ जीत। आज तक और इंडिया टुडे टीवी दोनों ने लहराया परचम। बेस्ट हिंदी और इंग्लिश न्यूज चैनल समेत किए 48 अवार्ड अपने नाम। देश का सर्वश्रेष्ठ इंडिया टुडे ग्रुप।
चेस में ब्रेक लेना बहुत जरूरी है, लेकिन अगर वीडियो देखते हुए ब्रेक आए मजा नहीं आता।
देख बिना ब्रेक अभी डाउनलोड करें तक ऐप।
अपने परिवार की चिंता को दिमाग से लॉकआउट करना बहुत मुश्किल है, लेकिन फिर भी ये सब भूलकर मैं ऑफिस इसलिए आती हूँ ताकि कोरोना वायरस से जुड़ी हर जानकारी आप तक पहुंचा सकूं। आपको सिर्फ घर पर रहना है ताकि आप सुरक्षित रहें, आपका परिवार सुरक्षित रहे, आपके आसपास के लोग सुरक्षित रहें। ऐसे ही तो पूरा देश सुरक्षित रहेगा। इस महामारी से हम लड़ पाएंगे। हमें सिर्फ इतना करना है, घर पर रहिए, सुरक्षित रहिए। इसीलिए तो हम कह रहे हैं लगातार कि घर बैठो, जिंदा रहो।
मैं एक न्यूज़ एंकर होने के साथ साथ एक माँ भी हूँ। जब सब लोग अपने घरों में इस वक्त मौजूद हैं और मैं ऑफिस के लिए निकलती हूँ तो उसकी नन्ही निगाहें मुझे देख रही होती हैं। कई बार वो मुझसे पूछ चुका है कि आप घर से काम क्यों नहीं कर सकती, जबकि वर्क फ्रॉम होम की बात आप खुद अपनी न्यूज़ में कितनी बार हम लोगों को सुना चुकी हैं। उसके सवाल का जवाब यकीनन मेरे पास नहीं होता है और हम उन तमाम सवालों को टालते चले जाते हैं, क्योंकि एक वो परिवार जो घर पे है और एक ये परिवार जो स्क्रीन पर हमें देख रहा है। भरोसे के साथ वो हर खबर आप तक पहुंचे जो आपके लिए जानना जरूरी है।
सब वर्क फ्रॉम होम कर रहे हैं, अपने परिवार वालों के साथ वक्त बिताते हुए, तस्वीरें पोस्ट करते हुए देख रहे हैं। बहुत लोग हमसे पूछते भी हैं तुम क्यों नहीं करते। हमारा भी मन करता है बच्चों के साथ घर बैठकर फिल्म देख लें। हमारा भी मन करता है शाम को चाय अपने घर परिवार के लोगों के साथ पी लें, क्योंकि हमारा एक परिवार पर्दे के उस पार भी है। आप लोग भी तो हमारा परिवार हैं। हम काम पर हैं ताकि आप घर पर सुरक्षित रहें। आपको घर बैठे कोरोना से जुड़ी हर जानकारी, हर खबर सही समय पर मिलती रहे, इसलिए हम दफ्तर आ रहे हैं।
एग्जैक्ट पोल मतलब आज तक, और वो सिर्फ इसलिए क्योंकि हम करते हैं हर एग्जिट पोल पूरी ईमानदारी से। जिस सैंपल साइज को हम बड़े सैंपल साइज को लेते हैं,
एग्जिट पोल मतलब एग्जैक्ट पोल सिर्फ आज तक पर, और ये एक दो बार नहीं, लगातार आज तक अपने दर्शकों के सामने रख रहा है ग्राउंड जीरो पर की गई हमारी रिपोर्टिंग, यानी कि आज तक की रिपोर्टिंग, जिसके जरिए लोगों का मूड हम भांपते हैं और वो पहुंचाते हैं आप तक। यही कारण है कि पिछले 5 बार से लगातार आज तक का एग्जिट पोल सही साबित हो रहा है। एग्जैक्ट पोल मतलब सिर्फ आज तक।
एग्जिट पोल या एग्जैक्ट पोल, भाई अब तो लोग एग्जैक्ट पोल ही कहते हैं ना इसको। आज तक के एग्जिट पोल देखने के बाद अब लोग एग्जिट पोल का शब्द अपनी डिक्शनरी से निकाल रहे हैं। पिछले 5 एग्जिट पोल जिनको आप कहते हैं उठा के देखिए ना, आपको मालूम पड़ जाएगा। गिनती से पहले ही आज तक बता देता है कि चुनाव का नतीजा क्या होने वाला है, और एकदम सटीक बता देता है, क्योंकि आज तक इस देश की जनता की नब्ज पहचानता है। इसीलिए तो 20 साल से आज तक इस देश का सर्वश्रेष्ठ न्यूज चैनल है आज तक, मतलब एग्जैक्ट पोल।
If it's India today, exit poll is exact poll. And that comes from years of experience. Credible news channel, credible reportage. We report what we see. The best analysis and the best number crunching. And thus, India today, exit poll is the exact poll. Exact poll means India Today.
Do you know of any organization that has delivered 5 polls back to back which have been bang on numbers? We have done so. We have earned the tag of being the gold standard in exact polls. And what we also do, we corroborate the numbers that we put forth in our exact poll with credible ground reports for you to get the true picture, for you to know we are the only channel you can trust. If it's India Today, it's not exit poll, it is exact poll.
Forget about exit polls. It's now called exact poll, India Today style. The one word that best describes India Today's election coverage is credibility. Ground reporting, analysis, and of course the poll. That's why we tend to get it right. Exact poll.
World Today. Your home is your world and so is mine. The reason why, this is the first time I'm rolling my show from my residence. This week we continue to focus on the coronavirus pandemic, with world leaders coming together through a G20 virtual summit to combat the challenges of COVID-19. We'll also be talking about the wet markets of Wuhan in China, which was the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak. But first up, the headlines. An extraordinary virtual G20 Leaders Summit was convened on 26th March 2020 to discuss the challenges posed by the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic and to forge a global coordinated response. World leaders pledged $5 trillion into the global economy. Since the outbreak of COVID-19, public health and animal rights advocates have been calling for more scrutiny of wet markets in China, where a wide range of live animals are kept in close contact with one another and with people, slaughtered on the spot and sold. World Health Organization is under the scanner. WHO's weak response to China's mishandling of the COVID-19 outbreak and delay in declaring it a pandemic has landed the World Health Body in trouble, with many questioning its role. UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson has tested positive for coronavirus. In his tweet, he said he was self-isolating in Downing Street. The Prime Minister's fiancée, Carrie Simons, who is several months pregnant, is also reportedly self-isolating. Now, the deadly coronavirus has paralyzed the world, with major nations going under complete lockdown. India also has completely shut down, barring essential necessities and services that are available. But one has to discuss the origin of the virus while we're talking about and tackling with the challenges of COVID-19. It's the wet markets of Wuhan in China. The worst fears of many who have long asked for a ban and end of China's wildlife trading practices has come true now. Here's a report.
These visuals speak volumes about the quality of meat that is being consumed locally within China. There have been massive sparring between China and the US over the origin of the virus.
I would like to begin by announcing some important developments in our war against the Chinese virus. We'll be invoking the Defense Production Act just in case we need it. In other words, I think you all know what it is.
Some reports suggest that the infection spread either from a bat or a pangolin. But when it comes to the place of origin, there is much clarity. The Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention confirmed, after successfully isolating the novel coronavirus, that it came from wildlife animals sold in the market in downtown Hankou of Wuhan City.
通通都是人类和野生动物的不当接触造成的。
This is not food, but a health hazard, violating all standards and norms. This is not the first time that China is the epicenter of another coronavirus. SARS also spread from traders of wildlife in Guangdong, China. The Hangzhou wet market has a section that sells exotic animals and birds as well, those that are not approved by the government. But China has been rather lenient on these matters. The wet market had a section selling some 120 wildlife animals across 75 species. While the mistreatment is not a secret, the growing subculture of wildlife eating has also become a status symbol.
It's not really the eating of wildlife, it's the hunting, the capture, and killing them and cutting them up, and getting exposed to the blood and the feces and urine. That's where these viruses get across.
Videos of people eating bats, rodents, snakes, and other creatures can be found in abundance online. But China hardly enforced any of the laws, and wildlife trading continued unabated. Until COVID-19 hit the South Asian giant, crippling its entire system. On January 26th, Beijing aimed to suspend trade after a notice by the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Ministry, the State Administration for Market Regulation, and the State Forestry. But only until the epidemic is over, which might not be enough. Wildlife trade has had devastating impact on animals, not just locally found in China, but also those brought in or smuggled in from other countries. Reports indicate that before the Huanan market closed, vendors there sold processed meat and live consumable animals, including chickens, donkeys, sheep, pigs, camels, foxes, badgers, bamboo rats, and hedgehogs, as well as reptiles like snakes. Pangolins have been almost wiped out. Snakes are rarely seen in much of South China. Shockingly, according to some reports, the Chinese government recommended using Tanriquing, an injection containing beer bile, to treat severe and critical COVID-19 cases, leading to spike in killing of bears. This is just the tip of the iceberg. If China does not mend its ways, then the world would have to face the consequences. China has to make the difficult choice of changing its ways of life and prioritize public health and safety. Else, it will be a long way off from becoming a superpower.
Earlier during the week, I spoke with Professor Peter J. Lee of Houston University. He said that while there is no certain way of telling when the world will tide over the crisis, there certainly is one thing that China should be doing, and that is ending unethical wildlife trading and wildlife practices.
Many thanks for joining us, Professor Lee. If you could begin by explaining to us what are these wet markets of Hankou in Wuhan that has been the epicenter of the outbreak?
The Hankou market in Wuhan is a typical marketplace where you can get almost everything from fresh vegetable to meat, pork, beef, mutton, and seafood. There is also a section where you can get wildlife animals such as snakes, civet cats, and other wildlife animals of about 75 species. But typically people don't go there. So the wildlife animals are sold to small restaurants, I believe. So that's why that's a typical, marketplace.
What are the kind of meats that we can really see people sell at the Wuhan market, which has been the epicenter, given the fact that there are a lot of reports being very critical of how China has handled wildlife, its policies with regards to the meat coming from across the globe, various kinds of species being slaughtered and sold in the Hankou market. So can you just explain to us what are the kind of animals that are sold in this market?
In China, there is not a clear demarcation as to what can be sold and what cannot be sold. Theoretically, the Chinese government allowed the breeding and marketing of 54 wildlife animals captively bred, but we see a large number of animals wild caught, especially animals which are state protected species. So China's wildlife market is beyond the reach of Chinese laws. There is a complete lawlessness there. So I would say it is a line of business that the Chinese government should crack down upon.
Professor Lee, you speak of many kinds of wildlife. Now, could you just tell us exactly what the rules and regulations and laws of China has been when it comes to trading in wildlife?
China has banned wildlife consumption and wildlife trade, but I would say this is not enough, even though the decision to ban wildlife trade and consumption is the most commendable step taken by the Chinese government. And we hope that the ban will become a permanent policy when China revises its wildlife protection law.
Well, while China has banned any trade in wildlife and the ban was put in place in only January, does that suffice? Will that be enough for China to have temporary bans, or should we look at a long-term ban?
China has the world's biggest animal wildlife farming industry, which has several components like breeding, transporting, and slaughtering. Each one of the component is full of practices that treat animals terribly. So this industry is intrinsically cruel on the farm, on the road, and in the slaughterhouses.
Professor Lee, what are the kind of practices? We know that there are a lot of unethical practices surrounding any treatment of wildlife, particularly in countries like China, but also in terms of how slaughterhouses are kept, how animals are kept. What are the unethical practices that you have studied in Hankou, in the Wuhan market?
It is not a surprise that SARS and the COVID-19 pandemic broke out in China, because China has the world's biggest wildlife farming operation. Large number of wildlife animals, captive bred and wild caught, are kept in very intensive, very crowded environment, and are transported over great distances and in horrible conditions. And when you put large number of wildlife animals, a lot of those animals are sick and dying with injuries. You cannot avoid, cross-infection of diseases and allow, provide an opportunity for the mutation of viruses. Right? So it is not a surprise that the epidemic, both pandemics, broke out in China. But I would say, any country with a large-scale, wildlife operation or concentrated animal feeding operation, they have to be careful.
After Europe, the United States of America has surpassed the numbers of China, with the international community now trying to flatten the curve. Here are some other reports from across the world on COVID-19. More than 82,000 people have tested positive for the COVID-19 in the United States of America, edging out Italy and China. New York has been the center of the pandemic in the US with more than 37,000 infections. The United States has also reported a surge in unemployment, with more than 1 million Californians filing for unemployment this month due to the coronavirus crisis. China has announced the closing of its borders for foreign nationals. Mainland China saw a doubling in coronavirus cases driven by a jump in infected travelers from overseas, raising the risk of transmissions in Chinese cities and provinces that has seen no new infections in recent days. Other measures include restricting foreign airlines to a single route with no more than a one-weekly flight. Each Chinese airline is permitted one route to any specific country with no more than one flight a week. This development comes after China earlier forced other countries not to stop flights amid the pandemic fears. Amidst the coronavirus pandemic, a man in Yunnan province in China died of hantavirus. Hantavirus is a disease which is spread by rodents. The man had died while on his way back to eastern Shandong province for work on a chartered bus. The report of hantavirus death came as the world continues to grapple against coronavirus and has sent shockwaves across the world. The Tokyo Olympics are to be postponed until 2021 after talks between Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and the International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach. The decision was taken in the wake of the deadly COVID-19 outbreak. It's the first time in their 124-year modern history that the Olympics have been moved or delayed during peacetime. Earlier, the event was scheduled to begin on 24th of July this year. However, the event will still be called Tokyo 2020 despite taking place in 2021.
South Africa came under a nationwide military patrol lockdown on Friday, joining other African countries, imposing strict curfews and shutdowns in an attempt to halt the spread of the coronavirus. The announcement of the lockdown left the residents of South Africa under panic, and people were seen stocking up food and other supplies right after the announcement was made. South Africa's lockdown is one of the strictest, with alcohol sales, running on the roads and dog walking having been banned. Jerusalem's Church of the Holy Sepulchre, revered in Christian tradition as the site of Jesus' crucifixion and burial, was ordered closed on Wednesday for a week as a precaution against the coronavirus. The decision followed a meeting between Israeli police and senior church officials. The closure comes in the build-up to Easter, which was scheduled to be celebrated on 12th of April. It would normally see thousands of pilgrims flock the city, whose streets are now virtually deserted.
Accusations, conspiracy theories, countries sparring. We've seen it all. But get this, this is not the first time that a conversation on the coronavirus is really taking place. There are web series, TV series, books that have spoken of such a coronavirus outbreak, some that date back 40 years. Here's a report.
The world has come to a standstill with increasing number of coronavirus cases and deaths. But believe it or not, the pandemic was predicted way back.
On day one, there were 2 people, and then 4, and then 16. In 3 months, it's 1 billion. That's where we're heading.
Yes, be it books, shows, or even films, multiple pop culture works are seeing a resurgence for unwittingly predicting the ongoing crisis.
좀 더 조사를 해봐야겠지만 변종된 코로나 바이러스입니다.
Most recently, fans discovered that this episode of the Korean series My Secret Terriers featured a plot in which the coronavirus was used as a weapon. This scene takes place in the 10th episode of the first season, which aired in 2018.
이 근처에 있는 회사인데. 코러스? 어디서 들어본 것 같은데?
The average person touches their face 3 to 5 times every waking minute. In between, we're touching doorknobs, water fountains, and each other.
Similarly, a 2011 film, Contagion, was based on similar lines as the deadly coronavirus. Directed by Steven Soderbergh, the film starred Matt Damon, Jude Law, Gwyneth Paltrow and Kate Winslet.
In 3 months, it's 1 billion. That's where we're headed.
They're calling out the National Guard. They're moving the press.
9 years after its release, this film has once again gone viral. That's not all. Reality TV star Kim Kardashian had posted an excerpt of Sylvia Browne's 2008 book, End of Days, Predictions and Prophecies about the End of the World. This excerpt from the book read, in around 2020, a severe pneumonia-like illness will spread throughout the globe, attacking the lungs and bronchial tubes and resisting all known treatments. Almost more baffling than the illness itself will be the fact that it will suddenly vanish as quickly as it arrived, attack again 10 years later, and then disappear completely. After the excerpt went viral, many dismissed the prediction as too vague. Surprisingly, even a 2017 Asterix comic, Asterix and the Chariot Race, featured a ruthless Roman villain by the name of Coronavirus.
Gotta get a juicer, gotta drink juice, lose weight, won't get chest pain from answering the phone anymore.
Emmy Award-winning animated comedy The Simpsons also happened to mention the spread of a highly contagious virus named the Osaka flu in an episode which aired 27 years ago.
Sarge, we keep getting orders to let the virus win. Must be a school day. Lay down your arms.
Doctors say the strain originating in China is...
And finally, look at this clip where Sheldon's face is covered with a mask and talks about a deadly contagious virus taking over the world with his mother.
We're all gonna die! About the local capital. This isn't funny!
I know, baby. I know. But you need to understand that sometimes the news says those things just to scare people.
Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
I know you don't believe in this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Slipping into a short break. When we return, we'll get you details of the big G20 virtual summit where world leaders pledged $5 trillion into the global economy. Stay with us.
अभी डाउनलोड करें तक ऐप।
महामारी के इस माहौल में हाथ तो सैनिटाइज कर लेंगे, लेकिन जानकारी को कैसे सैनिटाइज करेंगे? इस दौर में आप तक आने वाली हर खबर अगर सही हो तो वो जानकारी है, लेकिन अगर गलत हो तो जानलेवा हो सकती है। कोरोना वायरस पर आने वाली हर खबर होगी सबसे सटीक खबर। जब देश की लड़ाई कोरोना वायरस से हो तो देश का भरोसा सिर्फ आज तक पर हो।
जो बैक टू बैक शूटिंग कर रहे हो आप, तो बीच में ब्रेक तो बनता है, इसमें बड़ा अच्छा लगता है। लेकिन जब आप कोई ऐसा वीडियो देख रहे हो जो आपको बहुत अच्छा लगता हो, उसके बीच में ब्रेक नहीं बनता।
देख बिना ब्रेक अभी डाउनलोड करें तक ऐप।
ब्रॉडकास्ट जर्नलिज्म सीखिए मीडिया के दिग्गजों के साथ। ज्वाइन करें इंडिया टुडे मीडिया इंस्टीट्यूट। रजिस्टर करने के लिए कॉल कीजिए 9560065465 पर।
तमाम खबरों को देखने के लिए, पढ़ने के लिए आजतक.in पर जरूर जाएं। और हां, इन तमाम खबरों के लिए अब आप आज तक के ऐप को भी डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं iOS और एंड्रॉइड दोनों पर।
डाउनलोड करें आज तक मोबाइल ऐप।
आज तक के साथ लगातार जुड़े रहने के लिए डाउनलोड कर लीजिए आज तक का मोबाइल ऐप, और उसके बाद दिन भर की हर खबर से मेरे साथ रहिए खबरदार।
डाउनलोड करें आज तक मोबाइल ऐप। ऑल न्यू इंडिया टुडे मोबाइल।
Welcome back to World Today. On Thursday, world leaders got together on a virtual platform at the G20 Virtual Summit to discuss the challenges posed by COVID-19 as also to forge a global coordinated response. G20 has always been an economic grouping, but this time around, world leaders discussed the humanitarian aspects in a globalized world.
A pandemic that has brought world leaders on one virtual platform to tackle this global health crisis. G20 member states have collectively resolved to inject $5 trillion into the global economy to combat the disruptions caused